I worked in the Intel community for 27 years now. Well, it might help because we could do one reading on this. I could tell you what happened, and I've done this before with Ashella Yardley. She was really good
Oh
about.
yeah, she's great. I
She's
love her.
awesome. Yeah, she's a beautiful soul. So I sat with her
Yeah.
on it, and I've told this story. I'm friends with Alex Collier. So I
Oh really?
Yeah,
Love him. I've been following him for 15 years.
he's a really good-hearted, I mean, yes, he's got a beautiful story, but he's a good person. Like, he's real.
I know.
He
Yeah.
I've sat with him at dinner, and he's a good friend. I consider him
Oh wow.
a friend. Yeah. He's
That's
kind of like
great. Great.
yeah, I don't want to say father figure. I don't think because I don't know if he's that old to be my father, but you know what I mean. Like he's somebody that I respect, and we've had lifetimes. I know, I'm sure we have before.
Mhm.
So anyway, I relayed this to Alex, and Alex didn't say my name, but he put it on a webinar. And then Jason Reed, also a shooter, I reached out to Jason. So those were the two people, and I wanted the message to get out that this is real. The stuff with the Space Force, the fact that they're working with the Galactics, and the fact that the White Hats are in charge. Michelle is, we might, she's going to actually present this to Janine, and just understand I don't care about YouTube. Like, I'm not interested in getting my name out there. I'm just interested in the message. So I've
Mhm.
been sitting and watching this play out as a person working in an agency, but most people are unaware. But I've seen little
Right.
things here and there, and I've seen confirmations. And I've been wearing
Okay.
a Q pin, by the way, on my lanyard for about 4 years now, with the armor of God on
That's
the other.
great. That's
Just seeing
incredible.
if somebody notices, right? So
That's incredible.
so anyway, I was drawn to this stuff. I'll start, and stop me if you have questions or anything, because I kind of get going. I'm kind of fast with this, but about 4 years ago, I started following the Q movement, and I started reading the posts, and it just really resonated with me. And the very first thing that came up when I read those posts was immediately was this was related to Galactics, the Palladians specifically. This was a military operation, and this was real, because there were things
Yep.
in there that they couldn't have known unless they were military intelligence.
Can I just say real quick? The first time I heard saw the video, the plan to save the world, I my whole body was vibrating with that this could be true, and that's all I want to say. That I resonated with it very
So
much.
you feel very much like it's related to Galactics as well, that they're tied in.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but a few months ago, I had a mothership about a mile wide triangle hovering above. It wasn't right above me. It was above a an ancient Buddhist stupa that's right next to where I live. And I was in my inflatable pool, and I looked up at the sky and I saw this triangle. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not. It was shrouded in clouds, and
Yeah.
right where the peak of the triangle would be, I said that kind of looks like. And just as I was thinking it, they were picking up on my thoughts telepathically. The
Yeah.
clouds parted, and I could see a solid gray object behind the clouds, and then it came back in. You could see the outline. I have a video of it. You can
I
see the
gotta, okay,
outline of
so
this triangle.
that is so cool. So you think that was probably our guys? Or you think they
Yeah,
were?
yeah, yeah. That was because, like I told you, I'm skeptical, even though I'm very open-minded and I've had UFO sightings and I know that people are seeing these, and
Yeah.
but I need to see things myself. Okay. And
Yeah.
I think they knew that, and I think they showed themselves to me on purpose to take away any doubt that I may have had that they're there. Okay.
Yeah.
And this thing was freaking huge. It was at least a mile per side triangle.
Holy
So
shit.
this wasn't a TR3B. I've seen TR3Bs. This
Yeah.
was not a TR3. This was a mothership, and it
Wow.
was
Okay.
huge.
That is cool. That is awesome. I just went to Shasta, and that's a separate conversation we can have. But I went. We saw a ton of stuff, and I've got some pics and things
Shasta,
like that.
Mount Shasta. Yeah, yeah, okay.
It was awesome. I went with one of my friends, and we're actually going to do. I never get on YouTube, but we're going to do a video on that, more on the manifestation. And that's where I just saw Alex too. Alex was speaking there. So, but so going back to this, so I let me back up a little bit. So I started off in the Army, and I was military intelligence. I was at Fort Huachuca, because that kind of ties into the story, right? 1994, I was a 98J, so that like a signals, like a person that looks at radar analysis of signals, right? That's kind of what I did. So that ties into Fort Meade and things like that. And it's not anything exciting, believe me. It's very like kind of technical and kind of like, in the weeds kind of stuff. Not where I'm at right now, certainly, right?
Mhm.
It's very 3D. So anyway, so I went in the military. I got out as a contractor, and right around before 9/11, I was a defense contractor since then. I worked for different agencies throughout that time period, right? So different contracts, right? So I wasn't a government person, but I was a contractor. Okay,
Got it.
that kind of sets the story, right? So anyway, I start. My other friend Larissa, she was attracted to the same thing. She was like, "So you got to look at this." And she has a similar background to me. She works a program with the I don't know if you've heard of the RC-135s, but rivet joint. They're these aircraft that they do like surveillance, right? Type of stuff. And I mean, it's all, you can look at that online. It's all open source. So anyway, so we've known each other, gosh, 20 years, right? So we start looking at this stuff and we're like, holy shit. Like some of the stuff that they're posting, I mean, they couldn't, this has to be somebody in intelligence. It has to be. Especially some of the posts actually pointed to, there was a specific document in there, a SIGINT document that they had declassified, right? And I know that really well. It relates to how you do SIGINT and things like that. And I said, holy shit. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew for sure. I was like, this isn't a person in a basement, right? No way. So we started really, really looking at that. And then, and so stuff had happened in between then. And there was a specific event. And I bring this up because I think I've been shown things so I can look back at this stuff and point back to them. There was an event in 2018 that happened where, and I can send you a link to that. And I can't get into details, but it was a certain satellite that went in the ocean, put it that way. And if that would have been allowed to continue on its course, we'll put it that way, that would have been very bad. So that was another key for me. And I was supposed to go and work on that particular project, right? So it's all synchronistic, right? It all ties in. And I looked back and I thought, oh my God, like that was the Alliance doing that, right? For certain, clowns, right? We'll just leave it at that, right? And so I started looking at things, and then I started to see things that popped up at work that I'm like, oh my God, all these rules are changing, right? What's going on here? Our sharing rules and things like that. And it didn't really register, but I saw it as, this is the Alliance. They're doing this. They're this whole Five Eyes thing, if you read into any of those drops. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, that's valid, right? So, okay, so we'll skip ahead a little bit. So then we get into the situation last year with, right? And I was like, no effing way. And I'm sorry, just military side for me, right? Like, no fucking way am I taking that. And I tried really hard. I was really that's how I am. I'm very outspoken at work. And it hasn't always done well for me because I haven't, people don't always take that well, right? But I'm very honest. And I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, no way. Why am I doing this? And I was in a chat room that really wasn't related to the work I was doing. So I do at work, I'm considered an engineer analyst. So we do modeling and things like that. And it's nothing exciting. It's really not. But I got in this chat room and my friend Larissa was in there, and she said, look at this. They are taking stuff from CNN. And this is understand this is a multi-agency chat room. So you're on this other network, like, with people, right? And this is supposed to be your agency chat room, right? It's all multi-agency. And they're putting shit in there pulling it from like CNN. And and this bullshit, stats from the CDC. And I just couldn't, my higher self, I think, just stepped in, right? And I put the Nuremberg Code in there. I said, you guys need to look at this. I said, I put Dr. David Martin, because I couldn't put the links in there because it was on a different network, but I said, you need to look at this. I said, the VAERS reporting. And of course, I knew that was going to blow up, right?
Yeah.
So I get these people DMing me, and then some were saying, this is great, Tracy, thank you for doing that. And then other people were saying, you're going to get, I'm going to turn you in and blah, blah, blah. And they said,
you're killing grandma.
And then they said to me, somebody says in there, well, the White House monitors this feed, and of course I'm like, okay, well, who exactly is that? Right? Who exactly is, I couldn't help it, right? I'm just like, this is absurd. I go, who exactly is that? And they said, well, what do you mean? Are you saying that nobody's in the White House? I said, I'm saying there's a lot of CGI, right? I'm saying, so for me, I couldn't help it, my big mouth. And I'm like, well, who are we talking about here? And that's what really did it, right? So I got turned into, and I knew that was going to happen. I got turned into the agency that was running that. And I got a call from the admin, and this girl's, a lot of times they're just these young people, right? And I, of course I explained the situation. I said, I had a family member. I said, so, the girl, she was kind of really quiet, and she said, look, I'm just doing my job, but I'm just letting you know this is a violation and we might pull your account. And I said, well, if you need to pull it, pull it. But I said, we should not be posting stuff in there. We're supposed to be doing intelligence, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be doing
CNN, for Christ's sake.
It was
CDC.
Well, it was like CNN and just all of these articles from the news, right? And I'm thinking, there's no critical thinking in here. Zero. In fact, I would argue that most of my career, there's zero critical thinking that goes into any of this. It's if you just knew how it worked, like, I'm getting fired up because it's really how it works. You are so controlled in those environments on purpose, and then you have a clearance, and then you think that that's another chain. So I didn't get my accesses pulled, right? But I did draw the attention of some people in that room, and there was one gentleman that really stuck up for me in there, and I never heard from him again. This individual pops up. I can't remember what agency he was with, but he pops up and he really defended me in there. And he said, well, I'm going to DC next week, and I'll let you know if she's lying or not, right? As far as, DC being, fences and all that around it. And I tried to DM him. I never heard from him again. And I immediately got the hit that this guy is a white hat. This guy is a liar. Right. I immediately got that, or he knows something, right?
Yeah.
Well, because those chat rooms are they see everything you're doing. They're all monitored. There's good guys in there and bad, for sure.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I said, okay, if I don't get fired, then this means that the good guys are really in charge, right?
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
because you definitely put a target on your back.
I did.
When you did that.
And I just couldn't help it. It was like my higher self and what my mission was came in and just said, I took over and did that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something took over. Because the stuff that I put in there, I looked back at what I wrote and I'm like, oh my God, that was ballsy. Like, I did this. I basically called, the agency out. And I also said in there, you need to start doing your jobs. I also added that in there. You need to be using critical thinking and all that. And my friend Larissa was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I'm proud of you, but you went there with the White House. And I said, damn right I did. So that kind of sets the stage, right? So that was in last summer. So then we get to October timeframe, and I had taken some time off with my mom and everything. And I had, to be honest, I had violated the company that I was working with, their PTO policy, right? Even though I had coordinated that with my office and everything here in Virginia. And I made up the time and everything. So I wasn't in the hole with PTO, but that did it. But what did it with, I think, with the company intuitively is I also did the same thing the company. I sent out an email because they were talking about these and they were really pushy. And I sent out and I said, these are legal documents you should have, right? The questions you should be asking, like what's in the vaccine,
Right.
all this stuff. I said, you should legally. And
Informed
that didn't,
consent, right?
so that didn't go over well at all. With a couple, there's like 4 people in charge, but the president, I think he was pissed, because they got all this email afterwards, like, wait a minute, what is this? But again, it's like I couldn't stop myself if I wanted to. It was like something overcame me.
Yeah.
So we get to December, and basically what happens is I get this phone call or whatever, and they said, Tracy, I had gotten back from my trip and everything, and I had, made up the time, and like I didn't go in the hole, right? But it still violated their policy technically, right? Because you're supposed to. They said, well, what if you got sick or something and you couldn't make the time up? And I said, well, I didn't just leave, I coordinated it, right? I didn't just take off, like I coordinated with the team I'm working with here and all that. And so anyway, it was kind of out of the blue. They said, well, we're going to let you go. And I'm like, so at that point, and this was in December of last year, and I asked the universe, I said, universe, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to stay? Because I'll stay. If not, I'm going to break ties, right? And so the universe stepped in and had some kind of plan for me, right? Because the company I was working for, they said, well, we'll keep you on as a 1099 employee. Because what also happened, I got to back up. And this is what I mean. I get ahead of myself. So before this happened so I did the chat room thing. And then in October or September, all of a sudden I get this, Tracy, you need to update your background investigation because you have to do those every so often if you have a clearance, right? So I thought, what the hell is this? Like, what, like, we have all this COVID stuff going on, and now you're going to, like, you're going to open up an investigation, do a background thing on me. And I immediately got the intuitive hit. It's because of that chat room. That's what I got.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Anyway, I filled that out. It's a long thing. You got to go back, whatever, 10 years. So anyway, so that happens, right? And then in the December, when the company lets me go, they couldn't move so how it works is your clearance, they have to be able to move it over to a new company, right? I had a new company that was going to pick me up, but they couldn't do it because this background investigation was open. It's really, it's so jacked up. I can't even tell you, but it was open. So the only person that could hold my clearance was the company that I worked for, if that makes sense, right? It's
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah, because I would have been out of access. So the company I had worked for that I left, one of the managers who I think was on my side, he says, well, why don't we do this? We'll make you a 1099 employee. And that way we can hold your clearance and you can go in and still work for the company. And the company that I was subcontracting with, that I'm still with, there's no coincidences there. So I go back and the manager, my program manager, was really mad. He said, well, what do you mean you violated their policy? Like, what? I don't understand, because you coordinated with us. So he was upset. And I think it kind of forced them into a position too, where they had to sort of keep me on, because they're a prime, they work for this contracting company too. They're a sub, and it would have created a bad relationship. So anyway, the universe stepped in and I continued to work, right? So let's go up to, takes us to April timeframe. So I get this call in April, and I had already done all this stuff with the SF-86. They check your employment, you do an interview, go over all these stupid questions, right? Drugs and all this stuff, right? So I get this call, and they said, Tracy, you need to do an interview with the government person. Government person reached out with the agency I'm with, and I thought, well, I said, well, I just did this last year. What's this about? And I got the intuitive hit again, going back. Well, this is something that's going to come up, and this is related to last year. I got that hit immediately. So I get this email from this government person, and I immediately can tell the frequency is different. The vibration and the frequency is totally different than anything I've ever dealt with for a government person. He says, happy Friday. And it was very high vibe. And I mean high vibe, like 5D. Seriously. The
Mm-hmm.
whole, context of the email. And I got, okay, you need to call this person. So I called him and he says, hey, I'm really sorry we have your file here. You have your open investigation and we just need to adjudicate it, but we need to, meet with you. And his voice immediately, there was something was good about his voice. And he was really nice, like extremely nice. So I said, okay. So I go up and I drive up to the office area. And just to get the context too for that, the drive up there was like nothing I experienced. Like I was in a 5D. Like I took a different route. I'm going up to Chantilly, Virginia, that I used to work in like for years. And I'm like, what am I even doing? I didn't take the normal route I would take. And it was just all high vibration. And I had been to this building before for polygraphs, and I go in and I get up to the fourth floor, check in and everything. And I'm in the waiting room and this guy comes in and he says, oh, hi, Tracy, do you want any water? And I'm like, okay, it's just like extremely nice, just extremely nice. And his vibration was so high, very high, right? So anyway, he brings me in the room and we start going over the questions, and I get in the room and there's this lady in the back. And this isn't normal, and it isn't because it's a guy interviewing a lady. I've been in polygraphs and there has been a guy. It's so, just so you know, that's not like a normal thing. So she's sitting in the back and she stands up and I immediately feel like something's different about her. Like in a good way, she smiles at me. Her hair was kind of dark, but the eyes were big. This is what kind of drew me in, right? And said hi and everything. And she sits down. And what was weird is she's sitting in front of her computer, but she's not, like, I don't see her typing. She's just sitting there. Right. And my back is to her. And then he sits down with me. And this was just an unusual interview, but I felt like completely at ease, like I was talking to my best friend. Right. And so he goes through and he has some paperwork there. And he's smiling the whole time talking to me, and he's going over some questions, but they weren't normal questions. Like he goes into asks about my dad, who's deceased, was in the military. And he asked me a lot of questions. He said, people that know you say that you're outspoken. And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm pretty outspoken. And anyway, I was in there about 3 hours, but 2 hours of it was all this stuff about, well, what do you think about this? And it proceeded into DC. Well, what do you think's going on there? And it was like, again, like something took me over, like my higher self. And I'm just answering these questions as if like it's just flowing, like I'm channeling.
And you felt no fear, because this sounds like, I mean,
No,
yeah,
no, not at all.
yeah,
And it didn't feel like some kind of mind control. Like I can read frequency pretty well with people sometimes, and it wasn't like that. And so then
yeah.
he asked me at a few points, I said, I even said to him, I said, that's not Biden. And he said, no, it's not. I agree with you. It's not. And I'm like, but again, I didn't think about this until later, but I'm just flowing. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I didn't skip a beat. And then we got into
yeah,
you. And I said, yeah, that doesn't look like her. And he said, no, it doesn't.
yeah. No, no, no. I know he's been replaced.
You know what I mean? And then
Mm.
he asks me, about, we got into some of the stuff about, there was a couple things about social media or whatever. But he asks me and he says, well, yeah, so you feel like there's a global military? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, there's a military operation. There's devolution. We got into that. And he's shaking his head the whole time. He's not telling me I'm crazy, and he's writing things down, right? Writing them down. And a few times he looks up at me like, and it wasn't like, you're crazy or you're nuts. And this lady in the back, I could kind of, what was weird about her is I could feel that she was reading me. It was like she was she was completely silent. She wasn't writing. I didn't hear
Hmm.
writing, I didn't hear typing. She just was sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so we got into all that, and then he brings up, and I actually corrected him, and I said, well, there's.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, yeah. What do
Hey,
you think?
do you think the woman could have been a Pleiadian or something?
100%. I've gotten that through a couple of readings, but we can do cards on that to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that she was. I actually think she was a hybrid.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was Space Force, and I think there was some kind of
Uh-huh.
yeah, I definitely do. And
Yeah.
so anyway, we get through all of it, and there were some questions in there that were typical, like the drugs and stuff that they would ask. But the majority of the whole time I was there, it was all this stuff about, well, what do you think about this? Or interesting. What do you think about this? Right? He didn't bring up the chat room, but I actually disclosed that. Actually, and we got into the Nuremberg Code, and I said, this is wrong. You're supposed to have, everything that's in the vaccine. He agreed. He agreed with me. He said, you were right. But again, I'm not even skipping a beat. It's like I'm thinking about this stuff later. Like it's like watching a movie. Like
yeah.
So it was
so wild.
Yeah, we got into Act of 1871. There were so many things I had to, when I got back, I had to, so I would remember it. I had to go back and write down stuff because I just couldn't believe it. It was like channeling. And he at no point stopped me or told me I was crazy. And at the end of it, he said, so what do you think is going to happen? And I said, well, what do you think the outcomes is? I said, well, I think there's going to be some kind of an emergency, situation here. And something just came over me, and I said, I want you to know, I know who's in charge. I know Space Force is in charge, and I am here to help. And again, it was like, I said it 2 or 3 times to him. And so that's kind of the story. Now, where I'm at today is I haven't heard anything back. My belief system is that if they really were deep state, right, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be working. They wouldn't want somebody like me.
No.
I don't even know if I'd be alive, actually.
Yeah.
I would,
you would have had a heart attack, or your car would have gone out of control.
Yeah.
They can control. Any car built since 2010, they can control.
Yeah. And so I told immediately, I talked to Alex about this, and I had gotten a reading. It was interesting. It was right after that happened. I had a reading with, I don't know if you know Abby Lynn, but I reached out to her because I'm wanting to coordinate with people also doing these centers, these healing centers. But Abby picked up that was Andromeda. I don't know.
Andromeda. Okay.
It's okay either way. So I immediately reached out to Alex, and I told him what had happened, and he said, well, that sounds like an interview to me.
Exactly, it does.
So I think really the only other question for today would be the story that I told you. If I leave, I don't know how you want to word this, but I don't know really I don't know what the expectation is here, right? So I know I don't know if you want to do a reading on that particular interview, and if I leave, what's the result of that, or who those people were. I'll leave that open to you, how you want to do that.
It would seem logical that somebody's going to approach you at some time and ask you to join this. So let's ask if that interview, was that an interview to bring you into or in some, you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So maybe they haven't yet because you're still engaged with this other company. So if you were a free agent, would they contact you? Something like that?
Well, the thing is, if I, the way, and again, all this is going to change with the security shit and all this stuff, but if I were to leave tomorrow, what happens is that investigation goes closed. Now, maybe that's another thing that'll come out in the cards. If they're actually in charge of it, which I think Space Force is, maybe they wouldn't do that, right? Whether they're working.
Well, you're right about that interview and that Pleiadian hybrid, I believe. You want to look at that?
Yeah, let's look at you. That's be fun. Yeah, let's look and see. Because somebody's what I got was somebody said that the Andromedan part of me, it was an Andromedan aspect that came out and took over. But I'm just curious about all of it, like what what the deal was with that.
So yeah, first let's do a general look at that interview. So this is the in general, that whole interview.
Okay.
Two of Cups. There's Justice again. Nine of Cups in the past. The Star. when we were asking if these were off-worlders, yes.
Okay. I got goosebumps big time.
And the
oh.
Queen of Wands. What?
Yeah. I'm almost feeling like I'm tearing up a little bit too, but yeah.
Yeah. This is a pretty heavy stuff. So okay, they were looking at you to see if they want to make you a part of, to make a deal with you to be be part of the alliance. Two of Cups. This is a this is a partnering job. So they're looking at you as a potential partner.
Okay.
Okay. Justice, they wanted to make sure that they wanted to have that interview with you to make sure that you really were what you say you were. Who was doing it? Yeah, it was off-worlders. They were definitely. So actually, I mean, we said we are going to look at them. I don't even have to do any more spreads. Yes, they were connected with the off-worlders. To me, that's Palladians.
Yeah,
When I've done readings, that the Palladians are in charge. Valiant Thor was a Pleiadian. The Pleiadians are going to be leading the contact when
because they look
disclosure
the
comes
most,
out. Pleiadians are going to be the ones leading that.
Yep.
This is the Queen of Wands. So this is because they see this in you, that you are someone who has a, what we're asking about. So this is the result. So they got the answer that they wanted, that you are a woman of intuition and integrity with the sun.
Okay.
And so they they see you really as this shining light, the sun. Okay, I mean, I don't have to explain the sun to you, right?
No, I got it.
It's hard for me to put it into words.
Yeah.
The sun, and here's this 10 again. So this is the family of off-worlders. And so yeah, I mean, it was an interview. It was an interview for you to work with the alliance.
I just feel like what you're doing right now, like I feel like it's like family. I'm sorry, I'm just getting
so you are right now, you have bonds that are holding you back because of your work.
Okay.
Right. And you need to, you're being held back from that. So that's why they can't bring you on until you leave. Okay. And
God,
and then you could really,
I don't know why I didn't see
anyways, listen, I don't think I need to go on with this. I think we see.
Well,
we see it, yeah.
I wanted this for you too, and this is the message. I think this is kind of why I'm crying, because I think that, and you can do cards. I don't know if we need to do cards on this, but I told Michelle this too, and Alex and Jason. They want me to get that message out, and the reason is they wanted it from somebody that works in an agency to tell them that this is real. Everything you've been following is real, and this is from somebody.
You did it for me. You did it for me. I haven't. This is the first time I've had somebody like you telling me this stuff. So I always have a 1% of doubt. You know what I mean?
I know.
I think you have removed that permanently for me. So that you've helped me a lot. I'm getting goosebumps and I'm choking up too.
I
Okay.
just made me cry because I was like, I felt like when you were doing the reading, like it was like my family coming in, you know. And anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
you've
I'm pretty
actually
tough,
helped
but
me a
like,
lot today.